Right now, on the National Weather Desk, spring storm. The biggest snowfall in years is about to bury Colorado under feet of snow, while portions of the South face a significant threat of severe storms and possible tornadoes. We'll also look back at the impact of the blizzard of 1993.
Making one really strong jet stream and firing up this area of low pressure.
And a bomb cyclone that left portions of Nebraska underwater.
One of the most widespread disasters to ever strike Nebraska.
On this Pi Day, we'll celebrate women in STEM, including meteorology.
Why this gap exists, why there are more men in this field.
The warm winter means birds are returning to their summer homes earlier than usual.
We didn't have a lot of snow, we didn't have a lot of deep cold. Some birds have moved in a little bit early.
And why the National Park Service is cutting down 150 cherry trees in Washington, D.C.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Amira David. This is Denver, Colorado this morning. By this time tomorrow, the mile-high city will likely have more snow on the ground than any time in the past 3 years. Heavy snow started falling overnight, including here just west of the city, and it will keep falling throughout the day into tomorrow morning. And we are talking about some big numbers here. Denver is expecting between 8 and 16 inches of snow. Those totals get bigger as you head west towards the Rockies and along the eastern slopes of the Front Range. Some places could see up to 4 feet. That's why many parts of I-70 are closed today. Driving conditions are expected to be hazardous or near impossible. Meteorologist Jordan Evans has a look at what's making this storm such a big deal.
And what's interesting is you have severe weather on one side of the system, then the other side, yeah, it's a winter storm, blockbuster snow totals expected. So we'll zoom you into Denver in particular because we mentioned we're talking snowfall by the foot, and that actually includes the Denver metro area. The city itself sits about a mile high above sea level, and as you go up in elevation closer into the mountains, that's where the snow totals really start to ramp up. So as I step over here, notice some of those snow totals go anywhere from almost 3 feet. Boulder, home to University of Colorado, downtown Denver, just over a foot, potentially close to 2 feet, and maybe parts of the suburbs 1.5 feet of snow as well. Now, it's been 3 years since 2 feet or more of snow, and that was actually in March. And climatology also says that March is usually the snowiest month there for the city of Denver. So if you're traveling there, expect closures, some delays at Denver International, and I-70, I-25 also could have some closures with all of that heavy snow.
Meantime, there is a real threat of severe storms today. The risk of portions of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri is a 3 out of 5. Thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes, very large hail, and strong wind gusts are possible. The risk is slightly smaller when you go from Dallas into western Ohio. If you do live in these areas, please pay attention to weather announcements throughout the day. At least 3 homes were evacuated on Wednesday following a landslide in California. This happening in Sherman Oaks, just north of Beverly Hills. A large portion of a hillside just slid right down toward the homes. There were people in 2 of the homes when the landslide hit, but thankfully they all got out safely. Rising sea levels are causing big problems for Washington's Tidal Basin. It's home to the Jefferson Memorial and the famous cherry blossoms, of course. As Kelly Lynn explains, a project to repair the seawalls there means some of those trees will be cut down.
If you visited the Tidal Basin recently, you may have spotted this.
We're noticing a lot of debris washed up here.
I could tell that something's not quite right.
Mike Litterist of the National Park Service tells me twice a day, high tides force the water in the Tidal Basin to flow over the existing seawalls and onto the surrounding grounds. The daily deluge has created major damage.
Since the time they were built, some of them back to the late 19th century, they've been settling. We've seen about 5 feet of settlement in some places. At the same time, the water levels are rising, and we are now seeing water 6 feet above where it was originally.
The rising water has also badly damaged many of the surrounding cherry trees. The Park Service says it now must remove 159 cherry trees, including the social media sensation Stumpy. NPS intends to replant 274 others and use mulch from the cut down trees to spread at the base of trees throughout the park. It's all part of a 3-year, nearly $113 million rehabilitation project.
We're going to rebuild the seawalls. We're going to make them higher so that so they keep the water where it's intended to be.
It looks like it's long overdue, so this will be great.
This week, we are marking the anniversary of 2 significant weather events. One of them, the blizzard of 1993. The multi-day storm buried states under feet of snow from Georgia and Alabama to northern New England. Syracuse meteorologist Violet Cyborg explains why this storm was such a big deal.
We got a total of 43 inches of snow here in Syracuse, about 3.5 feet. Highways, buses, airports were all shut down. Even some plows were told to hold off until visibility was good enough for them to be able to drive and clear the roads. Plus, this system had impacts across 13 states with more than 300 deaths from thunderstorms, tornadoes. But most of the deaths were actually from shoveling the snowfall. And we had quite a bit of it to shovel. As I mentioned, 3.5 feet of total snow in Syracuse. Putting that into perspective, that's almost waist high on me. In total, though, because of the snow drifts from wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour, they were as high as 5 feet, about neck high on me. Plus, plows rolling through caused even higher drifts, as high as a 1-story house. But why was this system so strong? What led to such an impactful snowy system in the middle of March? Well, we had a really strong jet stream, which is what our weather systems follow, this white line here. And the reason why it was so strong is because we had this northerly polar jet and southerly subtropical jet merging together, making one really strong jet stream and firing up this area of low pressure. It formed in the south, headed down to the Gulf of Mexico, picking up some moisture. Then it moved up the east coast, wrapping in some colder air. And with high pressure to the west, that strengthened that system even more, which is what brought us that much snow.
Well, the other weather anniversary happened 5 years ago this week. A bomb cyclone left portions of Nebraska underwater. Steve White looks back at the impact of the disaster.
It looks a little bit like Niagara Falls.
The night started with a house fire, and before it was over, Genoa fire and rescue members were pulling people from rapidly rising floodwater.
The snow melted and the rain came and all the water ran off. I was pulling trucks out up in the hills and kind of knew we were going to have a problem when all that water got to the bottom.
Meteorologists call it a perfect storm. Weeks of sub-zero temps froze the ground, and rivers also covered with inches of snow. When the rain fell, there was nowhere for it to go.
Kind of come around this way. And
Water overtopped the Loop Power headworks near Genoa and ran through every canal, creek, river, and valley, washing out roads and destroying highways.
One of our deputies with the K-9 unit was in his vehicle for over 26 hours stuck.
Sheriff Ben Bakewell was in his first term and couldn't reach half the county.
The biggest thing was losing the infrastructure of the roads and then the contaminated water. So we had a lot of people that were actually in our communities step up and, hey, what do you guys need?
Helicopters airlifted hay as farmers found themselves on islands.
Events like that, I think they change people for the rest of their life, and they don't forget those lessons.
A year before COVID, some students went virtual as telecom crews used fishing boats to run fiber lines. Ranchers lost cattle, people suffered losses to their homes and businesses. It took months to reopen roads, not just gravel, but highways closed for months on end. And even here at the headworks, 5 years later, still some work being done related to the disaster of 2019. Reporting near Genoa, I'm Steve White.
And a recent study found Mars could be driving giant whirlpools on Earth that can reach the bottom of deep oceans. The authors say the currents can erode the seafloor and cause large accumulations of sediments. The study found the cycles are linked to the interactions of Mars and Earth orbiting the sun. For Earth, this interaction with Mars translates to periods of increased solar energy, meaning a warmer climate with more vigorous ocean currents. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we're we're going to head to Wisconsin and find out why birds are migrating back to the state earlier than usual. And we continue our countdown to the eclipse with a look at how schools along the path of totality are preparing for the big event.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have another day with a wide range in temperatures in the Northeast. 40s, 50s, 60s, and even near 70 makes an appearance for parts of the Northeast today. We should see a fair amount of sun, the back edge of any clouds, and scattered showers from last night. That's moving out. Our next weather maker is this guy here. This one arrives for late Thursday. That extends into Friday morning. Most areas will get some wet weather. The mountains could get a little bit of snow.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We're continuing to stay dry for your Thursday. Next chance of rain does arrive on Friday as a front is going to approach and bring some scattered showers chances. And we could even hear a rumble of thunder or two, but otherwise it's going to be very nice until then. Still in the mid to upper 70s on Thursday. Friday will still likely hit the 70s before that front gets here. Temperatures will get knocked back to the 60s for the weekend.
Here's a look at your forecast highs for the day. It looks like we're seeing Nashville 82 degrees, 82 in Tupelo, 80 in Atlanta, 88 in Tampa, 78 in Charleston. It looks like plenty of sunshine across the I-95 corridor, stretching all the way down through Atlanta. Looking at I-75, pretty clear. As you get into Tennessee, a little bit of cloud cover. Memphis, some clouds. We have a line of storms that will move along the frontal boundary. Some heavy storms possibly up towards Cincinnati, Louisville, Kentucky. Memphis getting heavy rain as we get through the overnight with that front.
The National Weather Desk.
You may see your local meteorologist wearing purple today, and this is why. Dress for STEM is an annual initiative dedicated to promoting gender diversity in science, technology, engineering, and math, or the STEM fields as we know them. Every year on this day, Pi Day, they use social media to share their stories in hopes of inspiring and educating. Emily Gracie sat down with the founder to learn why this mission is so important.
When you think about what STEM fields are, they're problem-solving fields. And when you have a more diverse group of people at the table solving problems, you get more diverse solutions that meet our needs. So that's why it's so valuable to have more women in our STEM fields.
So over the past 9 years, have you seen this really take action in a way that's made a difference? Do you have any stories?
Something that's resonated with me isn't necessarily a story of a little girl, saying, "Oh, I want to go into STEM because I saw someone wear purple," but it's more the adults who have asked, "What is STEM? What does that stand for?" And to me, that just shows that that this conversation just isn't being had enough. And while I think it's so important that we inspire our young girls to, pursue their passions, it's also important that we inspire the grandparents and the parents who can pass that message down and set the example for their children.
I know people have asked this question over the years of why this gap exists, why there are more men in this field. Do you have any idea why that could be?
I think part of it starts in our adolescent years, when, we're entering middle school and maybe studying science and studying math becomes less cool. I think that there's also this message that young girls have heard that, oh, girls aren't good at math. Girls aren't good at science. And that's just not true. There are studies that show that when it comes to our abilities, we're both capable of being fantastic at science and being fantastic at math. It's a muscle that you have to exercise. If you go into it thinking I'm either good or bad at science, then you're never going to live up to your full potential. But if you go into it thinking, oh, I can just keep practicing this and I can get better and better and better at this, that's an entire mindset shift.
To participate in this movement, all you have to do is put on something purple, post it on social media with the hashtag #DressForSTEM, and start a conversation with someone about the topic. Well, we continue our countdown to the solar eclipse across America, now just weeks away. Teachers are taking advantage of the upcoming eclipse by tailoring their lessons to get students ready for the big event. That's what an earth science teacher is doing in New York. Natalie Calzatoni has more.
Science teacher Dan Robbins says the anticipation of the eclipse has piqued his students' interest.
If everything is lined up perfectly like it's going to be in April, what do we have? Solar eclipse. It's been a topic of conversation. It is definitely a current event. The kids are very excited about it. So we're going to harness that curiosity and make it a teachable moment.
During Tuesday's lesson, Robbins used moon models to show the class how exactly a total solar eclipse occurs and why they are so rare. And students got to simulate the phases of the moon in a hands-on activity.
The Lunar Lollipop activity teaches students about the different phases of the moon. A total solar eclipse can only happen when the moon is between the Earth and the Sun. This is known as the new moon phase.
10th grader Kellen Welch says this unit has made him even more excited for next month's big event.
Yeah, I got my glasses and everything. I should be going to, my grandparents have a big field, so I'll have a good view of it. And I just think it's cool that a bunch of people are coming from all over just to watch.
Robbins says most of the concepts he teaches require models because the subject is always too big or too small to have in class. On April 8th, his science lesson turns into reality.
They're going to see a natural phenomenon firsthand in Canandaigua, New York. And it's very exciting for them.
And stay with the National Weather Desk as we count down the days until that April 8th eclipse. We're going to have 3 hours of live coverage during the eclipse. We also have much more on the eclipse posted over on our YouTube channel, so you can go there, just search the National Weather Desk. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. Temperatures in Wisconsin have felt much more like spring or even summer recently, and some signs of the warmer months are already starting to appear. Eric Peterson looks at how some birds are returning to the region earlier than normal.
Robins are here. Some robins do stay over winter, but yes, the robins are back. The red-winged blackbirds are back.
From the familiar flyers to a somewhat flamboyant local favorite. Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary Chief Naturalist Kim Diedrich says spring has arrived.
Sandhill cranes are back. They're being very vocal. We've seen 5 or 6 here at the sanctuary. Probably about 10 days ago or so is when we first started to see them.
A few miles to the north at this waterfront site on the Brown-Oconto County line.
It was a pretty mild winter. We didn't have a lot of snow. We didn't have a lot of deep cold, not a lot of thick ice. So some birds have moved in a little bit early.
Brown County Assistant Naturalist Logan Lazay says spring migration in this area is about 2 weeks ahead of schedule, with waterfowl typically arriving first. He says these big white birds called tundra swans are just passing through.
Tundra swans, they are a tundra species, so they're nesting in the way far, far north tundra, even north of Canada. And so we see them only during migration, especially in springtime we see a lot of them. But they've got kind of a high-pitched whistling sound, and they're very loud.
Back at Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary, birds continue to feed. Kim Diedrich says it's only the second week of March.
I don't know if I would say that winter is truly over yet, But if you start to see some of the other birds that are migrating back, maybe put out suet at your feeders, put out birdseed, just to kind of help those early birds that are coming back if they can't find natural food sources yet. So that's always a help that you can do.
The spring equinox is on the way. It falls on Tuesday, which is earlier than normal. Meteorologist Emily Santum explains why.
Spring, or the vernal equinox, typically falls on either March 20th or 21st. This year, the spring equinox is coming Tuesday, March 19th. This is the earliest start to spring since 2020. It's starting early because 2024 is a leap year. So since there's an extra day added, the start date is about a day sooner. Equinox is derived from the Latin words to mean equal night. And on this day, there are 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. This event is also based on the sun's angle. On the other end, the last time spring began on March 21st was back in 2007. And this was actually the last time for the rest of the 21st century. The next time spring begins on March 21st, try next century.
And time now for a short break, but first we soar above Virginia's Raccoon Branch Wilderness Park. Enjoy.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We're dealing with some thunderstorms across a lot of the Midwest for the day today, and then cooler if you're not dealing with it across the north there. Only 41 for the high in Bismarck. Now, the rain continues moving its way to the east as we go through the morning tomorrow, and temperatures behind it, not too bad. A lot of 50s and even some low 60s behind the rain. As we continue on into your Saturday, temperatures cool down for some of us with highs only in the 40s there to the north.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. A little on the cool side. If you're up here in Amarillo, we've got some cooler, drier air filtering in there. Everybody else a little too warm for this time of the year. Cold front will be pushing through the area. Could see some big thunderstorms up into Arkansas and portions of Oklahoma. Back on up later today. We'll be watching for the south as well, where some showers that could be developing there. Otherwise, going to be another warm day. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. While we're warming up along California, Oregon, and Washington, it is bottoming out cold for the parts of the southwest interior. We are going to have a storm system bring in such excessive snow in the mountains. We're even expecting 1 to 2 feet around Denver and Boulder. Strong winds associated with that snow, too. And it's going to be windy through the valleys of California. That's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
One peaceful way to greet the day is with a carousel of stunning sunrises from Perdido Key, Florida, to photos beside still waters of Lake Winnebago in Wisconsin. This pooch greets the day at a beach in southern New England and looking forward to the day at this golf course near Myrtle Beach. Spring is knocking at our seasonal door, these blossoms paving the way for its official arrival.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
And now let's check to see the weather in cities across the country today. We start in Alamo City. It will be partly sunny and humid in San Antonio with a slight risk of a shower. Highs will be about 83 to 87 degrees. Next to Lynchburg in Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains. It will be warm and sunny today with a near high of 80. And New Bedford is in southern Massachusetts, just west of Cape Cod. Folks there will see partly cloudy skies, but it will be very warm, a nice high of 61. And we wrap our tour up in Flint, Michigan. It will be cloudy with periods of rain there today. Highs only reaching 49 degrees. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Amira David. Make it a great Thursday, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.